You would think that this little kitty was the thing that I was giving the surprise for today, but in fact, no, not exactly. What I wanted to do instead was talk about a certain subset of important words today. So I want to talk about what we have, which is really common, and you're going to be using them all the time, daily, daily, guaranteed. Like you can't get through the day without saying some of these words. So what I wanted to talk today about are the top 10, at least the top 10 TH initial words in English, or top 10 TH words, right? So they're going to actually be 10 TH words, and it's really important that we use these and say them correctly because we have this opportunity every day, multiple times a day, to get these right. So we're going to go through all of these, and I'm going to give you a little bonus. And we're hoping that this cat here kind of leaves us alone for a while. She's really, I'm desperate for attention, I guess. You wouldn't know it actually, but this cat is about 18 years old and I've had her for a really long time, but she actually acts like a little kitten, so you'd never know it. But anyways, we'll see if she wants to leave us in this area or if she wants to stay with us. So there's a couple of bonuses as well, and then we're going to talk about all the high frequency words and why they're really important for you. So we're going to start today with the top 10 voiced TH words in English. So you can probably guess that first we need to talk about the TH sound itself, right? So as you can see, we've got two TH sounds. That's what happens when you go live. You have cats, you have mistakes. It's super fun. So we've got two TH sounds. They're written exactly the same, but there's one key difference between them, and we call them dental fricatives. Why? Because they're using your teeth and they're creating friction. So let's see what that looks like. You might see these two little symbols here, and if that's weird for you, don't even worry about it right now. It might make sense for me. For example, this kind of looks like a D with a little line in it. That's the what we call voiced version. So right here, your vocal folds need to be activated, as in the word the, right? And then there's an unvoiced version where these let me say that again because there's two ways to say it. Vocal folds or vocal cords, and sometimes I kind of say them at the same time, vocal folds are not vibrating, right? So you're not going to feel anything here. For example, take that TH, put your tongue and create friction on your top teeth, right on the blade there. Thursday. You shouldn't be feeling anything right here, right? So we just want to review those two TH sounds, and if you've ever seen this before, it's a consonant chart, and it's really useful because we can see two things right along the top here. Look, we can see where I need to create the sound, and on the side, well, going down the side, we can see what needs to happen to the air. Do I need to stop the air? Do I need to create friction, right? Is the air going out my nose? So this can be a really useful chart. If you've never seen it before and it's too much information, don't even worry about it. But the two sounds we're talking about today, the th and th, they're dental, as we said, and they're fricative. They create friction. Let's zoom in here, right? So we've got dental fricative. I really need to be on the teeth. If you pull it back too far and you're close to that bump, you're getting in the territory of T sounds, right? And some people maybe let their lip kind of creep up in there. That's getting towards an F sound. So we want on the teeth, right, top of the tongue, create friction, bottom teeth, that blade, that cutting edge, or if that feels weird to you, that's normal if it's not in your language. Stick your tongue out and really like overdo it so that you can create muscle memory and your mouth goes, oh, okay, this is what we want, right? Because if you don't create friction, you're making a stop sound, and you could do like a right there. It's not what we want. And then also, like we said, if your tongue is too far back, then you're going into another sound area, right? So let's make sure we've got that th and th. Now for the top 10 TH words, now we have to think about, well, what about the vowel in there? Because there's these words we use all the time, and the thing that's going to differentiate them the most, the most, because we say them so quickly, is going to be that vowel. And as you see, they've got a lot in common too. So you might not be able to see it, but the cat has calmed down. She's hanging out right here down below me. And so let's move on then. We've got, I wanted to mention too, if you're watching this live, which it's the 24th of February, 2026. Today is Tuesday, and on Thursday, I have a masterclass, and it's really great because we're talking about what we call the front vowels, because your tongue is in the front, and a lot of those we're going to see today. So if you happen to be watching this live or right after the live session, then definitely get into my community, because I have got a masterclass there every last Thursday of the month, and this month it's what we call front vowels. So important, so important. So funny that they just coincide like that, right? So here we go. Word number one, right? The most important word in the English language, it's the. And I know up at the top here, I've got the. Again, if you don't know all these symbols, don't even worry about it. You'll pick them up as you go. The most important ones will stick in your brain. So number one, the or the. But what do we want to pay attention to? Look, I can reduce that, and most of the time I do. So I can totally say the, or I can say the. That's what we call schwa, that schwa sound. It's that upside down or rotated E letter looking thing, symbol, right? So it's the. Your tongue is in the middle, Your jaw is a little bit open, but not too much, and you're definitely relaxed in your lips. So the or the. All right, so when we say reduce, we mean usually take that vowel and reduce that vowel down to schwa sound. That's the schwa sound. And maybe you're in school and you learned this rule. And I'm here to tell you that not a lot of people adhere to that rule all the time. So I know that's English, but we have the and we have the. And a lot of people in school, they learned that they can say the or they can say the. And they should say the when there's a vowel next. For example, the orange or the apple, but the cat, for example, right? But I can tell you as a native speaker, I don't think about it very often. I might do it once in a while, but it's not by design. It's not like, oh, there's a vowel next and I have to do that. It's not something that's so common that I actually do it and don't think about it anymore. I have to say, oh, the orange. No, the orange? Yeah, that sounds fine. So if you learned this rule in school, that you say the when there's a vowel next, I would say you don't have to really apply that. You don't have to think about it consciously. If it happens, that's cool. But I say the orange, I say the apple, right? I say and then I glide that together with the next vowel that's happening too. And I think if you break it down and you think about it, then it's actually can be really helpful to then practice that gliding, right? And that transitioning from one vowel to a next, especially schwa, because schwa is the most important sound that we have. Most common, we should say. It's about 12 sounds of all the sounds that you're going to be saying. All the sounds in English that come out of your mouth, most of them are there. So number one, the. Number 12, you're maybe thinking, why is it that we have 1 and then 12? Those numbers are going to be significant after a while. But in our case, the second one we're going to review is T-H-A-T. Now there's two ways to say it. You might kind of guess at this symbol. And look, we've got our friend schwa again. So the first one is the, as opposed to the. So we've got that and we've got that and that. In the first one, my tongue is really far forward and my jaw is very open. It's as open as it can be. You can see my tongue. That, right? That cat needs to take a hike. Now, I can reduce it though. I can say that. The car that I just bought, the car that I just bought has a problem with the brakes, for example. You'll hear that a lot. So when do we reduce it? When it's not really important, when the word. But look what I just said. You'll hear that, because I'm pointing it out, right? It is an important word here. You'll hear that. You'll hear us saying that sometimes when we say that, right? So it can be reduced. It can totally be reduced. But what about that other sound? You might have noticed that a final T sound in English, when a T is at the end of the word, we've got a lot of variation there. And some people say, no, those Americans, they just drop it, right? But I want to say most of the time, we're not actually dropping it completely. And there's a way to tell, but most of the time we're doing what's called a glottal stop So if you think about you're talking to a little baby and you're like, look at my keys, little baby, and then you drop the keys and you say, uh-oh, that sound, that's what we call a glottal stop. So the more common a word is, and this is the 12th most common word in English, the more common the word is, if it has a final T, the more likely we are to go right at the end, right? So that cat, she scratched up my furniture again. That cat, for me, cat is a very common word, so I'm going to glottal stop that because I have two of them. So if a word is very common and a word ends in T, most likely you're going to go right like that, and that's called a glottal stop. Another variation that you might hear as well is what we call a flap T, right? And so we get this in a couple ways. One big way is if there's a vowel and a T and a vowel. So it kind of makes a vowel sandwich, right, with those T's. So when am I going to see that? There I did it again. When the word ends in a T, or I should say a vowel in a T, and then the next word begins with a vowel, because now you've created that kind of vowel sandwich. So if I want to say, oh, which apple would you like? This one or that one? I can say that one, or I can say that apple, right? So I can link it, and it becomes what we call a flap T. Some people say it sounds like a D, but if you have an R in your language that kind of taps the ridge there, it's going to sound more like an R to you. So maybe sounds like a T, maybe sounds like a D, maybe sounds like an R to you, but it's got that kind of sound to it, right? So number 12 on our list. Number 12, the 12th most important word in English is T-H-A-T. Now we have two ways we can say it. Watch out for this one if it's going to be singular or plural, right? So when it's singular, it's what we call short I, and it's the unvoiced S. So it's I, and it's s, this. Now, this is number 18, so it's still a really high frequency word. This. Notice what I have to do there. I take my TH, which is right here, and then I move my tongue down to the bottom teeth. This. And then my S, my tongue goes up to the bump. So it goes here, and then here. This. Notice my jaw's not opening hardly at all because what we call the short I is just a little bit open. My lips are very relaxed. So watch what your tongue is doing there, because if you do E instead of then it's going to start to sound plural. And I'm not going to be sure. It's going to be ambiguous. And I'm going to wait to hear that S. Was it S or was it Z? Because maybe I don't know, right? So you might hear when some people reduce the I to where my tongue is in the middle, you might hear this. You might hear it. But I would say don't bother, because it just sounds a little bit weird, right? This. Why don't we reduce it though? It would make a lot of sense. Probably because it becomes then too close to some other words, and that's doubly confusing. So singular or plural, right? Number 23, we've got a new thing going on here. So we've got our th, and then we've got two vowels here. We call that a diphthong. What's a diphthong? When there's two vowels together. Also, this one, you're not going to get reduction from they, right? You're not going to say the came late. No, they came late. They came late. I'm not going to reduce that, except in this what we call contraction. So when I've got they and I've got are, then I can say something that we'll see in a second. It sounds like, you could say they're, of course, but you could say they're gonna be late, they're, right? In this special case, you might reduce that vowel down to what we call schwa, right? But now, this diphthong, it's two vowel sounds that we consider as one, because we consider it one syllable, and then we start with a little more open, they, right? And we have that Y at the end, T-H-E-Y. So some people, when they see that Y, we call it the happy vowel at the end. Some people do go they, and they do kind of widen their lips and spread them and smile that way. So either way is fine with that. Really important word. Now, here we go. This is where it kind of gets complicated in the sound. We've got two. One's a reduction, right? We can see that already. We've got another, what we call diphthong. We see two vowels there. We haven't seen this one that kind of looks like a backward 3 yet, but we can see that we can reduce it, right? We can reduce it to schwa. So now if I'm talking about the possessive and somebody owns a house, well, whose house is it? It's their, air. I'm breathing air. Their house. Their house. But I could also reduce it to be their. I'm going over to their house tonight to see the new puppy. I'm going over to their house or their house, right? So yes, we can reduce it. We have another diphthong here. Something that's called a merger means you're going to hear it in different ways in different areas, and they're all correct. So look what I just did. I said look how wide my jaw was. Air, their house, their car. But if we go back to that other word we were talking about a moment ago, whoops, I'm going the wrong way. Live shows. Look at this one. They. That that's another thing that's merged with the possessive, right? So you could say their house. Some people say that. That's why we call it a merger. I happen to say their. I don't say their house. I say their house. Some people go so far as to say their house. Some people say that one as well. So there's this merger of three things. You could hear any one of them. It's all over the country, right? That's kind of, the question is, do people care or do people not care? So more along the East Coast, they're going to differentiate different words, and more along the west side of the country, not so much, and that pertains to Canada as well. So we've got, yes, it can be reduced. There's a diphthong here if we don't reduce. There's a merger, so there's some other possibilities here. And then, as we just said, it's they and are. I'm going to go to their house or their house, and then it sounds exactly the same. So it could be exactly the same, and you just have to tell from context, right? So we've got there, and then we've got the place. So not here, but there. Hello, exactly the same. Like we said, there's a merger, so it could be that some people separate them and they say this one this way and this one this way and this one this way. That's a possibility. That's something a person might do, but it's not always about the region, right? North, south, east, west, city, country, that kind of thing. Not always. But look, we've got there. Sorry, let me go back. Let me go back. We had they, and then they are is there. We had there, as in possessive, same. And then we have THERE, which is number 53 on our list. Over there, we have a whole list of words that are important too. So we're going through these one by one. Don't forget that TH, the. We've got some vowels here. We're thinking about three things with vowels. We're thinking about our jaw height, our tongue position. It's, in this case so far, we've only seen front or middle with schwa. And then we also have our lips, right? Sometimes our lips are tense and sometimes our lips are relaxed. If we're reducing, they're definitely relaxed. So the next one on the list then, number 63, we're getting down, but still really important words. Probably every day, monitor and see if you think this is true for you. Do you get by the day without saying THEM? I know I don't, right? And now we've got 1, 2, 3 possible ways to say it. So we've got this one, which we've seen. We've seen this schwa, but look what's happening here. I can drop that TH sometimes, right? So I've got 3 ways to say it. I can say them. I can say them, or I can just say as well. You've probably heard that. So there's 2 ways to reduce this. And when do I say the context is clear. I know it's plural. I have, let's say, 2 people that just showed up at my party, and I'll say, "Oh, have you eaten yet?" No, they have. What? Could you get them some pizza? Get right? Get them some pizza. get them some pizza, right? So I could take THEM and it would sound like which, if you already know, if you take him, HIM, singular for a person, for a male person, then you can say, get him a piece of pizza. And then you're like, is it plural? Is it singular? So it could be confusing in some contexts, maybe, but it's going to sound the same. Right? Them, them, Next two. Something fun, I think. Look at these two sentences. Now, I can see that there's a spelling difference. One is an A, one is an E. But what's the difference in meaning, first of all? Because if I make a mistake, then somebody could understand something different that I didn't intend, right? So I want to focus on that vowel. It's one little thing. So let's look at these two words, because also it's funny, on the list, they're right next to each other. So they're both super common, and maybe it's one reason is because people mess them up. But look, we've seen this several times. My jaw is pretty far open, not all the way, but pretty far. So my tongue's going to go from there, and then that N, right? My tongue goes back to that bump, but it's a nasal sound, so my air goes out my nose. Then. As you can see, there's technically no reductions here, and I think that is so we can keep them clear, right? Because then people might confuse it with than. Because look at this, 1, 2, 3, 4. We haven't even seen this yet. There's 4 ways I can say THAN. That's the comparative one, right? So look at this. I'm going to go back. Oops, I'm going to go back, not forward. Come on. There we go. THEN. I've just got that But look again. There it is right there. So we're literally saying, hey, you can say these the same way. That's so confusing, right? That can be really confusing. So my advice is to, number 1, try not to reduce it too much. Go back. Sorry, I'm not able to do this very well. So I've got then. If I were you, to be really clear, as much as you can, do the full version of than, THAN, because then I won't have any confusion with then, because technically, yeah, I can reduce THAN to say then. I'd rather have cake than cookies, right? I'm not trying to say I want first cake and afterwards I'd like some cookies. No. I'm trying to say THAN, but it could be ambiguous. Also, you'll hear people reducing this to then, or even taking that TH away. For me, until your speech is really, really clear and you know that you're not going to be misunderstood, I would say then. Even as a native speaker, I try to be as clear as possible with my friends. It's the same with if you've ever heard CAN and CANT, and you're like, which one is it? Sometimes I got to give a thumbs up or a thumbs down just because, like, we're not even always clear with ourselves, right? So we had then. Also, if you know the word AND, I can say right? I want I want chocolate and vanilla together, right? In my swirly cup of ice cream. Or AN, the article, right? I want an orange. I don't usually say that. I want an orange. So you take the risk of being ambiguous when you reduce too much. Just saying. Remember when we said earlier, THIS, the singular, it was the short I, it was unvoiced, this. Now, that could be confusing if I want to say plural, and this happens all the time for 2 reasons. Number 1, a lot of languages don't have that short I, so they just say these, and they're still unvoicing, but it's confusing. So they're saying these, and you're like, is it plural? Okay, if it's plural, voice that. These. And so that leads us to our second problem. In a lot of languages, that voicing isn't very important, and also the ends of words themselves aren't really that important. But in English, it gives us a lot of grammatical information. The end of the word tells us sometimes, again, is it singular or plural? What's happening with the verb tense, right? Lots of information. Is it grammatically as an adjective, for example? Like, we're listening to the ends of the words, so the ends of the words are way more important than you might think. Right? So we've got this singular, and these in there, right? So get that voicing under control. Put your hand right here. You can feel if you're voicing or activating those vocal cords or vocal folds. I should just pick one and stick to it. So let's talk about a few more things. And why am I saying these are bonus? First of all, they're not the top 10 TH words, but also they're maybe a little bit also confusing as well. So we've got 4 more to talk about real quick. And let's see here. So we've got, if you haven't seen this symbol before, it's as an umbrella, because a lot of people say other, other, and then I'm thinking author, like a book. No, other, like brother, mother. That letter O is very often the sound. And I like how the symbol kind of looks like an umbrella too. So we've got we know this is voiced. And then I'm going to go to my schwa again. So in fact, the as an umbrella, your tongue is in the middle. So other. And if you're having trouble with that R too, don't worry, I've got tons of masterclasses. I'll talk about that as well. Other. This is an R after a vowel, so it's a little bit different from our regular R. Other. So I included it on this list as a little bonus because look, it's number 71. It's still in the top 100 most important words you need to know, right? So that's why. And then I thought, we're on a roll here, so let's talk about this. But don't forget also, here's something we haven't talked about yet today, is there's this TH and it's in the middle of the word. So I've got to start somewhere else and then move my tongue forward. And here's where a lot of people get in trouble because we're all lazy, right? So I'm like, I don't want to go all that way, but do it. Get all the way. Train your tongue. Get the muscle memory to go out far enough on the edge of your teeth at the bottom. Get out far enough to really create that friction right there, because that's a habit. You know, you just got to practice it and drill it more often. Other. I'm starting from something else. And so that's not something we've talked about yet. I'm thinking about how am I going to connect it to the previous sound. All the other words we've talked about today, they were in isolation, right? We didn't put them into sentences, but the THs were the first thing. But now you can start thinking about, okay, well, I don't say these words in a list in my life. It's in a sentence. So what's before it? How am I transitioning into the TH, right? That's connected speech. So, this is a difficult one, I think. Other. And I'm what I'm calling here is a natural schwa, because it's not because we're reducing it, right? That's just the way the word is. It has the schwa in there. So other. My jaw's too open, sorry. Other. That's my number 71. Very close to number 152. We're out of the top 100, but still really common. Another. Look, I've got 2 schwas. I've got that umbrella in the middle, right? Here's something new. The second syllable is stressed. So think about the length of that sound. Another. I want to stress that second syllable. Other. Second syllable stressed here. We've got 2 what we call natural schwas. What I did earlier, I said another. I did 2 kind of umbrella sounds there. Another. People totally do that on the street. If you know the website called Youglish, right, where it takes videos from YouTube and you can search for words in English and hear them. It'll scrape them all for those words. You will absolutely hear another, another, another. You'll hear that too. It's just not in the dictionary, and that's why I didn't put it here. And I use dictionary.com, by the way. Two more, and these are interesting because you have the choice of whether to voice or not, right? It's not about reduction now, but it's about, am I doing, we've seen this one so far many times, this is the voiced version, which is, by the way, how do I know if a th is going to be voiced or unvoiced? A little what we call rule of thumb. Most of the time, if the word is a grammatical word, right, or a function word, we like to say, this, that, these, those, they, them, all of those words, right? Usually the th function words, the grammatical words, are voiced, right? But here's one. You're not going to hear me say this often. Here's one where you have a choice. So it could be with, or it could be with. And you might find yourself like me. Sometimes it's this and sometimes it's that. It just seems to be how it connects. There's no rule that you can follow. There probably used to be 100 so years ago, but not so much, right? Both are correct now. You might not even notice the difference, but I would say think about it, see if you'd notice it, at least in you, and you're making a conscious choice, right? So we can have WITH, and we can have this compound word of with and out, right? So without or without. Again, we have that choice here, right? And also, look, there's another diphthong. We haven't talked about this one. And here we've got the word with the th in the middle again, right? Why? In this case, it's a compound word. So let's quickly look at that little diphthong to make sure we can get it right. Also, notice there's that final T, so those same rules apply as we said earlier. But this diphthong is interesting because it starts with your tongue in the middle, and then it goes to the back. We haven't talked about any back vowels yet. Ow, 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 out, right? Without. See if you can feel your tongue kind of sliding back for that diphthong. A diphthong is two vowels together, remember. And again, this Thursday, if you're watching this live, this Thursday, I'm going to talk about all the front vowels. So there's 10, the way I classify them, there's 10 front vowels. Next month, I'm going to talk about the 9 back vowels, right? So you'll get a much more in-depth look at that. If you want to come to my masterclass, the only way to do that is to be inside my community. My community is free. The masterclass is free. So there's a link down below in the description about how to do that. So here we go. Without. So that was, what number was that? That was 195. And you say, wow, that's pretty low on the list. Of all the words that you say in your day-to-day language, most people are thinking about, ooh, how can I sound better? What are some fancier words I can put into my vocabulary? Well, most of the time, you gotta check and see if you're saying those new words right. But I can tell you, most of the clients that I have, they're making mistakes on what should be easy words, simple words, words that they use every day, right? So that was a problem. And I thought, wow, people are paying me a lot of money one-on-one to fix words and to say, oh my God, you can say it without? I thought I was saying it wrong this whole time. Without. I was always wondering, right? So what did I do? I thought, I'm going to put this together in a package for everybody, and A, I'm going to make my own life easier because then I don't have to correct them on these words. And B, I'm going to make a really simple introduction about how I can start fixing my accent myself, right? If I learned English as a second language and maybe in school, my teacher also didn't say these things correctly, but I didn't know because I was the student, I learned them incorrectly. It's not your fault, but I am here to help you. So what I did is I put together a whole package of the top 365 words because I thought let's just do a little bit every day and start fixing our old mistakes, because that's one of the most difficult things, is to go back and tell your brain, hey, I know you've been doing it this way for a long time, but that's not actually what we want. So fixing those past mistakes, they're what we call fossilized errors. And that's tough, especially if you don't know what you don't know and you're not even hearing it. So this is what I did. I collected the top words, and it wasn't me. These come from databases. And I gave them all labels, and I just concentrated on the top 365. So anybody could knock this out daily, little bit, over a year, right? So for example, these are words you probably are like, oh yeah, I'm always wondering about, is it busyness? No. So these are the words that are on the list. And I know that like we avoid complicated words because we opt for what we think are more simple words, but I can tell you that a lot of people don't realize that they're making mistakes on those. So no, not your fault. Nobody's ever corrected you. But I've got a really simple solution, and it's going to save you tons of time if you just open your email, which you do anyways, every day, right? So we've got what we call the training bundle, and we're going to be adding to this too. But what you're going to do is you're going to get as well, besides 365 top words in an email, little email every day with a video explaining how to do it, where to put your tongue, how long to hold it, where's the syllable stress, all of that. Plus, every week, right now, at least, you're getting what we call a monologue. For every Monday, you're going to get an email that says, ooh, you want to practice monologue? You want to practice your rhythm? You want to practice intonation? Here's a monologue. Oh, bye, kitty. Here's a monologue that you can do this week. And they always have themes like, oh, we're working on rhythm. We're working on intonation. This is what I want you to pay attention to. Just a little email, every day, once a week. And then on Tuesdays, you're going to get a specific tongue twister that reviews certain things. Maybe in this case, it might be the THs and the Ds, right? And there's a tongue twister related to that, or voiced and unvoiced THs, S's and Z's, that kind of thing, right? So every week you get those as well as a bonus. But number one, you gotta start like fixing all those little words. And that's why I'm showing you today the numbers and why these words are so important. And this way, you can watch a little video with me today and get a sense of like, oh, how does this work? Where do I need to put my tongue? I don't know where to start, for accent training. But it's going to be super fast because you're going to open your email probably every day anyways. So you're just going to get a little tiny video from me with the word of the day. So if that's interesting for you, if that's going to be helpful to you, then just sign up down below. And I hope that I'll see you soon, because I'm planning on doing these little live mini classes once a week just to let people know that, hey, I'm here to help you. And if you need anything, you just let me know. So I will see you guys next time for the live, and thanks so much for joining. See you soon. Bye guys. See ya.